and we get started. First, in terms of player interviews, they will all, again, be conducted out on the field after the walkthrough or after a practice session, and we ask that you stay off the field until the last position group huddle meeting and position group post-practice drills have been completed, so that we don't get anybody run over or get injured. Just exercise a little bit of patience and wait till the last group is done doing whatever they're doing as far as an activity on the field is concerned. Please work with us in staying behind the boundary lines that are laid out on the field. And, we don't want to get anybody run over. And the official opening ceremony for the start of training camp will take place tomorrow at 2:30. And for those of you that want to cover that, that'll be prior to the start of our afternoon practice. And the last thing is we just ask that you don't try and bring any guests down onto the field or ask any of the players for autographs, which is something that we don't usually have a problem with. But that's all I have. Appreciate it. And I'd like to turn it over to Jerry Jones.
This will be our 14th year here at Oxnard, but our 40th year as an organization in California. And it seems like Rich always has scripted for me this time when I visit with you my comments about how much I appreciate your organization going to the expense of having you come out here. And because we appreciate you being here so much, there's nothing that you could want that Rich won't provide for you while you're here. Now, just to make that point, I did ask him, is there any way we could get these girls and boys some shade out here while we're having this press conference? Rich X'd it out of the budget. He said, I'm not going to spend that money on that. Maybe a little Johnny Walker Blue at our get-together, but not on the shade. But so blame it on Rich that you're sitting there burning your butt.
90% of them are staying on beachfront hotel property over in Ventura County, so they got it pretty good. They're not complaining.
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't know there was any place else to sleep around here but on a beach in town. But listen, we are glad you're here. It's great to see each and every one of you. Many of you, we've been these 14 years. Some of us have been out here together this 14 years. But I am, on a personal basis, I'm particularly excited about the makeup of the team that we're bringing here to training camp. I'm particularly excited about this coaching staff that Jason has put together. We have a lot to be excited about. We've got a lot of talented players here. It's a real challenge when you've got them talented to get them all on the team under the rules that we have with our caps and things like that. So that's a challenge. But I will tell you this, as we sit here today, every player on our 80-man roster is signed. They're all signed. We've got a contract with everybody. So that's good, and that's a lot of work. And I want to thank Stephen for his work and brilliance in having everybody under contract here with us today, so or under contract. But with all kidding aside, this is an exciting time for this organization, exciting times for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll get a lot of work done out here. That's why we're here, this place, California. The 40 years we've been out here unquestionably is conducive to getting the most work done with the right kind of atmosphere. I want to particularly tell Oxnard, I want to tell this community, I want to tell the fans that really are generational here. I want to tell them how much that it makes this training camp something that not only tangibly is good for us, but it also perception-wise around the country. I like what this says about the Dallas Cowboys to be here at Oxnard in California with our training camp. So with no further ado, Rich, I think we'll throw it open to questions.
Absolutely.
And then you just ask away.
Jerry and Stephen, we'll kind of circle back on your expectations for the season a little bit, but at what point do you consider Ezekiel Elliott late, and what is your stance on his absence?
He's he is not, he's late. We have officially reported, and so he's a non-report officially, and all of the mechanisms that are in place with your collective bargaining agreements, structurally under the contract, everything is in place and addressed if you're not where you're contracted to be. So he's late.
Does that mean that he'll be fined?
Excuse me?
Does that mean that you guys will be fining Ezekiel Elliott for not being here today?
It provides for that.
Does that mean that you guys will?
Again, it certainly provides for that, and I've not ever made it a practice of getting into the details of how we execute our agreements or how we operate within our agreements. But his agreement provides for fines, and it's certainly doable under the CBA.
Well, last time have you had conversation with him, and did he tell you he was holding out over his contract?
Again, I'm not going to get into, from my perspective, you can ask each and every one of us that here about when we've had conversations with him, but I'm not going to get into any conversation at all. We will not be making updates. It's certainly appropriate that you're asking about it here at our opening press conference, and he's not here. But the last thing we want to get into is a daily update on contracts. Everybody's under contract. It's a part of what goes on in football. Football is business. It's pro football. And so it is business, and you are where you are on every contract. Every contract we have an agreement on. Every contract we have an agreement. And so that if there's any changes in those agreements or if there's anything different, you never know what that's going to be until both parties have done it. So updates, where you are, where you stand, how close you are, all of that isn't necessary. So I do want to make the point, we will not be giving updates on any of our contractual status of our players.
Did you expect him here?
Again,
Did you expect him here?
we expect everybody that's under contract to be here at camp. They've agreed to be here.
Given your support of Ezekiel Elliott, is it fair to say, or I'll ask you, are you disappointed at all that he's not here?
Again, I'm so excited about this team, and I'm so excited about the players that we, including him, that we have under contract. And I've got excited about the work we got done in our OTAs and our mini camps. I'm so excited about how we drafted. And so this is not in any way diminish the excitement I have about this team. And this is very similar to, you say, well, does it occur to you that you might not have a player if they're a holdout in camp? Yes, I understand our game. It occurs to me we may not have a player over an injury. As a matter of fact, we prepare for that, and we know you could not have a player over a suspension. We know that. We prepare for that. And so all of this is just a part of playing football professionally in the NFL.
Stephen and Jason, what are your comments about Elliott's absence?
Yeah, we expect all our players to be here. Obviously, Zeke is not here. Zeke's been a really good player for us. Over the last 3 years, very impactful guy. He had a great offseason for us. There's a business of the NFL that happens. Our focus as a coaching staff and as an organization is on the guys who are here. It's really as simple as that.
Jason, will you address the
Yeah, I
team
think
at
when
all?
you've done this as long as we've done it, I mean, none of this is, there's no surprises. We've been doing this for 30 years, and so it's a part of the game. The great news is, the organization from Will to Jason to Jerry to our scouting staff, our coach, have done a great job of assembling a lot of young players, and with that comes expectations from the players, from the agents, and it's part of it. And we're certainly going to work through it. I think Jerry's really addressed everything there is to address about Zeke, and we're just going to go to work and do what we do in terms of continuing to work to keep this team together. I just think we've had a really good young football team, and there are some challenges out there. These guys, and as they should, it's business to them as well. It's their livelihood. They work hard at what they do, and certainly respect that. But it's going to do no good to address this situation every day. Certainly, we'll be working on it behind the scenes, and we feel optimistic that when we're all said and done here, things usually work themselves out.
Stephen, on the working on it behind the scenes, have you had any discussions with his agents on a new contract?
Yes.
Jason, will you address the team about Zeke at all when you meet with them this afternoon?
Again, we're focused on what we need to do. Most of our players came in on the flight last night. Some of the players reported this morning. They did the weigh-in. They did their physicals. We did the conditioning run at 10 a.m. We'll have a 2 o'clock team meeting. We're focused on the guys who are here. Again, Zeke's been a great player. He's been a great teammate, and we respect him. But we're not going to get into the business of football. We're going to get into what we need to do each and every day to play our best and to coach our best.
Stephen, do you always focus on each individual case, or in something like this where a player has 2 years left on a contract, is there a precedent to be concerned with going forward as far as how you address this?
Did you ask me?
Both of you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll answer this way. Anytime you look at a player, that usually means you're going to look at many players, because you've got to put it in perspective of the entire available dollars to pay the team. And I'd say there are very few conversations that Stephen and I have, but what at some point in that conversation, we're not discussing player, its impact on other players relative to the cap and financial. It's almost like getting up and turning the lights on. It's such an everyday concurrence. There's no, that you live with this all the time. And so that when you don't have the player on the field for whatever reason, then you would be discussing, well, that's why we put that in place. That's why we have that in place. What are the repercussions there? It is not alarming that you have to get up or go to bed thinking about some aspect of it when you're dealing with the numbers of contracts that you are. So that's why I don't want to seem cavalier. Zeke is an outstanding player. I don't want to seem cavalier about it, but I also don't want to be unrealistic being alarmed about it. This is what we do. This is the air we breathe. And if you flared and knee-jerked or went just because you have parts of it that need addressing, you wouldn't be a good manager and you wouldn't be functioning. So I just want to put it in perspective, notwithstanding what is important to you, that our fans have a feel for the consequences and what this is about, Zeke not being here. I want to say to you, this is business as usual.
By the way, training camp is obviously a time where we've done many contracts. And look at our offensive line. Most of that group was done during camp. This is just that time of year where, we get things done. The great news is we're all here together. The players are here. The agents work for the players. And, Jerry's here and I'm here and Jason's here. Will's here. It's a great time to, have discussion. And, our goal has been all along, in addition to DeMarcus Lawrence, was to work on the 3 contracts that we've been talking about. So this shouldn't be any surprise, obviously, with one of them not being here. Wasn't necessarily expected, but, we'll move forward and work on it, and optimistic that we can make all this come together. As I said, it usually works out. We'll see if that's the case this year.
Wait to training camp to get some of these deals done, Stephen?
I think at the end of the day, you have, but, and we didn't wait till on DeMarcus Lawrence, but you have to have 2 people to make a deal. I mean, you can't push one side forward. And some people want to see some of these contracts play out, and it's just part of it. They want to see what happens to the overall receiver market. They want to see what happens to the quarterback market. And, some representatives want to move faster than others, and some want to wait and, be sure before they pull the trigger how they're going to advise their client. And then, at some point you have players who are ready to move forward and they have enough information and they feel good about it and we feel good about it and we get it done. But, it just so happens I do think most people want all this to be done before the season starts. I think that's a natural deadline, and I think that's why you're seeing some deals get done right now. I think you'll see more deals get done over the coming weeks, and it's just a natural inertia there that goes on in terms of the urgency to get these things done.
That being said,
Do you consider this a distraction?
No, I think our guys are professionals. I think our coaching staff, as Jerry said, led by Jason, do a great job of keeping the focus on the players that are here. And hats off to the guys who are obviously got their mind a little bit on their business off the field, but I think they're pros, and they're going to go out there and get their jobs done. And I think this is just part of what we're involved in the NFL. Over time, it used to be rookies, and then it used to be, before you had holdouts, be players without contracts, but they couldn't go anywhere else but the team they were on back before free agency. So, these things have evolved over time. As Jerry said, we've been doing this for 30 years, and nothing comes as a surprise. And we certainly feel prepared to address it and to handle it in a good way. I know Jason feels good about it, and we're just going to go to work and see what we can get done here.
Same lines. I understand the thought process of moving forward with the guys you have, but we're going to continue to ask them about this. So are there any safeguards that you will put in place to make sure it doesn't become a distraction?
Yeah, I think the big thing that we try to emphasize as a coaching staff to our team is that anytime a player isn't available for whatever reason, it's a business situation, it's an injury, it's a great opportunity for somebody else to show what they can do. And we've had great examples through the years of guys emerge in situations, and they get more reps, and they grow as a player, and we grow as a team. And I think if you look at our team last year, we grew a lot. We had a really young football team. I think arguably the youngest in the NFL at the start of the year. And you saw that team grow over time by just getting snaps and playing. And guys who had never played before, they grew week after week after week. So we always view this as an opportunity. When someone's not there, step up, next man up, let's see what you got. And it's a great opportunity for us as coaches to evaluate that player, see if he can hold up, see if we need to go get somebody else. It's a great opportunity for the player to prove himself.
With Zeke, is any of this related to the value of the running back position and where you guys see
Absolutely. I think everything's involved in a negotiation, whether it's the value of a position, whether it's a player's age, whether it's his health, whatever it may be. It's a full body of work at the end of the day, and you put all that together. Jerry said it. We're talking about these things all the time, and talking about what their longevity is, how long do we think they can play, whether it's any position on this football team. So all the things go into the mix when you're trying to not only put together a team for this year, but long term. We have to look at that in terms of, what the salary cap is this year, what's it going to be next year, what's it going to be in the future, and what's our team going to look like as we move forward. It's certainly not where you want your coaches focused right now. We want them focused on trying to win a championship this year. But certainly it's something that we have to do, in personnel and cap, in terms of looking at the future. But all that comes into play, and certainly a part of it.
He's missed time in the past, and he's one of those rare players that doesn't show much of a drop-off, even having missed practice or playing time. But given that you guys have this new offense with Kellen Moore and John Kitna, is it important that you guys get him here sooner rather than later, given that you're installing sort of this new system?
Jason?
Yeah, Zeke had a great offseason. So much of what we'll do at training camp we introduced in the offseason. He's one of the smartest players we have. He's just got an unbelievable football IQ, so we don't anticipate any learning issues for him, once he gets back in the fold.
How does Michael Thomas holding on from New Orleans, does that mean anything to you guys with Amari Cooper in terms of a sense of urgency?
For me, no. But if you ask Amari or you ask his representatives, you'd have to ask them if that's important to them. I think obviously, some guys do want to see the full market play out before they make a decision. Could that be one of the reasons that they're, not necessarily a lot of urgency to get the deal done yet? It very well could be. But for me, no. We could do the deal tomorrow, and we'd feel comfortable doing something. But you'd have to ask Amari and his agents how much, that's playing into their timing.
Is there any doubt to you guys he's going to be a long-term Cowboy?
Amari? Oh, I think we'll get something done with Amari for sure.
frustrate you a little bit, knowing that you want to get a deal done, but the other side is waiting on somebody else to get a deal done when you know, hey, we're ready to get this going?
And what was the first part of that question?
Does it frustrate you in any ways?
No, I think all these things work themselves out. I know certainly you'd like to have everything all in a nice, neat package wrapped up in a nice, neat bow and be done with it. But, that's just part of it. As we said, it's like player acquisition. It's 365 days a year. The business of pro football is the same thing. And certainly just because we're, at some point if we get done with these three players, then I can promise you the focus is going to go on to other great young football players we have on this football team. And I'm sure, they're sitting in their room thinking about when's my time going to come. And certainly they deserve to have those thoughts. So, this is just ongoing. And it's certainly not anything that's frustrating to us. We just know we have to be patient and we have to do things the right way. I mean, we just can't overstep here because it's just been a lot of work has gone into really putting this young team together. And if you go out and you're not efficient in how you go about it, and it's certainly, one thing I do agree with, DeMarcus Lawrence told me point blank, it's not my problem, the rest of the guys. And he's right, but it is my problem, it is Jerry's problem, it is Jason's problem, it is Will's problem. And so we have to factor that in. And certainly I don't expect Dak to be laying awake at night worrying about the cat. Neither do I Amari, nor Zeke, nor any of our other players. That's our job, but it still factors into it.
Where are you all in negotiations on Dak Prescott's contract, and do you see that as the first step in business at training camp?
No, I think, unfortunately, that's just not something we can answer. Contracts get done when they get done. For me to characterize as we're a week out, or 2 weeks out, or a day out's irresponsible. I mean, those things are just, they have their own life. That's why we're going to address this today, and then we're going to be done with it. Because until one's done, it's not done. And it's not going to do any good for us to say, well, we talked for an hour yesterday, or we hadn't talked in 2 weeks, or I don't think any of that's productive. And said, here we are, first day of camp. We're going to address this right now, and then we're going to be done with it until these contracts get done.
How would you describe your goals on that deal?
On which one?
On Dak's deal. What are your goals with that deal?
Oh, I just, you'd love to get a deal done that he's happy with, that the team can work with, to surround him with great players on offense and to have a great defense and special teams. If we can get all that done, then we've done well. And, who's to say exactly what that number is today, or the length, or what plays into that, but that would be the goal.
Does Carson Wentz's deal affect Dax? Them getting it done, did that impact at all?
I think all these things impact each other. There's no question. I mean, they were drafted in the same class, the same age. They've had success, both of them. And, certainly when deals get done at those levels, then, they affect one another. So it's just part of our business.
Where it doesn't, I'm going to add something here. Where it doesn't affect what somebody else do, another team does, at a player, at a position, that's good reading. That's good reading. And I understand for those individuals involved how they compare to that. But the Dallas Cowboys have a litany of contracts. And those contracts have been made predicated on the terms of other contracts, not in New Orleans or not in Cleveland, but based on the Dallas Cowboys. And so we have arduously spent money, time, planning relative to the relationship of those contracts together. Just because somebody in their contractual situation decides that they want to do different than their contract, just because that doesn't mean that you tear up everything that you've got over here with the team, even though somebody else may have done something different with another team. What rules the day is your list, and what rules the day are your economics. That rules the day. Now that's real. And so that's what you're sitting there protecting, is the integrity of how all of that works together. And that's why that if everybody at one time said, you know something, let's just all go up and see Jerry, and he's got all this money, and let's get all that money. Let's go do this at the same time. I'm just saying that's not the way it works.
You don't have all that money?
That's the way it works. I don't have as much money as this group right here got your heads together would want. If you could just put it down, I promise you that. But seriously. And that's what you're looking at. And so you say, well, where are you with other players that are involved here? We've got a good idea, and brother, we are pretty good at it, of where you're going to be projecting down the way. One thing we know how to do is figure. We can figure, and we can anticipate what the cap's going to be and what the revenues are going to be and what's going to be available. Now, we can do that. You could do it if you had all the information to get her done as well. Well, just because it's different, just because there's a time like come to camp when you want to do it differently, it's still got to conform. Or we can't do that and have the team that we have. The other thing I'd like to add is that one of the best things about coaches, one of their best redeeming qualities of their entire profession, is they really do have to believe in next man up. They have to believe in that because they coach a game, especially football, that has attrition. And they coach a game that has attrition in talent, and it has attrition with energy, and it has attrition with all kinds of, these are human beings, they have all kinds of personal things. Pro football has its litany of those things to go. But these guys don't have a breakdown and go in some kind of mental asylum when the guy that they thought was going to be there is not there. They're not built like that. And so they do go on, and they mean it. And they really do mean it. And that's the way they get up and go to bed. And so having said that, we've got the right game to have a disciplined, but to have a plan of how to put the team on the field with all this young talent, and we've just got to make sure that these contracts you're talking about fit that plan.
What do you need to see from Jason to bring him back in 2020?
What did you say? I really didn't hear you.
What do you need to see from Jason to bring him back in 2020 as your head coach?
I really didn't hear you. I got a damn drill going on back over there. Next question.
On the note of next players up, one position you needed that last year was at center. How heartening is it to see where Travis Frederick is, and what are y'all's expectations for him at training camp?
Well, I'm certainly excited about the way he feels about where he is. We're certainly in really elementary medical area. You're not talking to a person to give you an assessment there as far as how he is medically. But I will tell you this, sitting here this time last year, I had no idea what we were facing regarding Frederick. None of us did. And I would hope that that was as isolated as the very syndrome that he has is rare. And so I'm basing my personal thinking, hope, want to's, that he's going to be able to come out here and be right where we were this time last year, thinking he's going to have a heck of a year. And everything I'm hearing supports that.
Stephen was talking earlier about you worked to try to put a championship team together to win that. This team has won the division and advanced to the second round twice in the last 3 years, young nucleus, both sides of the ball. Is it realistic to expect in your mind that you take a step forward this season, that the base has been built and you need to get further? Or how do you view overall this season?
I expect us to be a better team. And think that our personnel supports that. The experience gained, as Jason mentioned earlier, supports that. I am real impressed with the staff that Jason has put together here. So I expect us to be better, and as a part of that should result in maybe advancing our record, or if you will, our place in the playoff. It should result in that. That's the assumption you make, that if you're a better team and you've put together a sound one, they can stay healthy, then you should be able to do better than you did last year. And you did ask a question, and that's right. And all of that is what I would call success. There's no secret that the guy to my right here, I want to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys for as long as I'm around to spell it. That would be my goal. And that's no secret, and many of you have written about it in various ways. So let's see what's ahead.
What will it take for that to be the goal, Jerry?
Again, I'm not going to get succinct because I really can't tell you that I know about what feeling good about this team is. I've had some times when you didn't feel good about the team that I felt good about the team. And so, that's the eye of the beholder there as well, and that will be ultimately how it's decided.
Jason, y'all did physicals this morning. What does your PUP list look like heading into the first practice?
Yeah, Byron Jones will be on PUP, DeMarcus Lawrence on PUP, Tyrone Crawford, and Noah Brown. Those guys will start on that, and each of them has a different timetable for coming back, but suffice it to say they'll just keep working, and we'll do everything we can to get them back into it.
Two-part question, Jason. Who were the off-season conditioning winners, and who are we going to be dodging in the parking lot around the golf carts?
That has not been determined yet, and there's a tremendous amount of anticipation for that. It typically happens here the first 48 hours in training camp, and the guys who think they are contenders are excited about the possibility of having that golf cart. So you'll be the first to know after our team does.
Jason, if this team doesn't have Zeke, what changes offensively for you guys?
Yeah, again, you go to work. We have two good young running backs who we drafted. We're excited to see. We have a couple veteran guys who haven't played that much who we're excited to see, and we'll just give those guys opportunities. Obviously, Zeke has been a really impactful player for us. We certainly want him here, but I really do believe this. The next man up philosophy really just helps you. It helps the individual player, and it helps the team grow and get better. So we'll try to take advantage of this time if any of our players are out with injury or otherwise to help give other guys an opportunity. I think ultimately we'll grow as a team as a result.
Anticipation of a full season from Cooper this year.
We're excited about Amari. Been around football a long time. I thought what he did last year in transitioning to a new team in the middle of the season, the production he had, I thought was remarkable. And I think it goes to the kind of guy he is. He loves football, works very hard at it. He's a very smart guy, a really high football IQ, and he's just a damn good player. He's talented, and he can do a lot of different things, and he wants to be great. He wants to work hard. And, if you think about a guy showing up in the middle of the season, then the rapport that he and Dak developed in really a short period of time and the productivity he had for us, it was really off the charts. Made a huge impact on our team. For those guys to get a chance to work in the offseason, now work here in training camp, we're just really excited about that possibility for those guys to grow together.
You know how many, off the top of your head, how many players you have not on PUP who you'll be holding out of team drills for the first several days?
There are a couple of young guys. Connor McGovern is not going to be on PUP, but he's still coming back from that pec injury, and he's going to ease back into it. Valuable for him to get some of the walk-through reps as he's working his way back into practice. I think there are a handful of other guys who are going to be in that same kind of a situation. And, we have to be deliberate, getting guys back into playing real live football. Our training staff does a great job getting these guys back. They've all worked hard. So as much as anything else, you've heard me say this before, you got to look at them day by day. You have a prescribed workload. How do they handle it? Okay, now we decide what we're going to do the next day. So we'll just take it as it goes.
Do y'all expect Randy Gregory to play in a game for the Cowboys this year?
I'll answer that one. Visited with Randy yesterday. Had a good visit with him, and I would hope, I want to be guarded in my comments here because Randy is suspended, but I do feel that he's doing the things and it's getting recognized by the decision makers that he's doing things to really improve and be a productive player in the NFL. And I think that will not go unnoticed and could have it happen for him. I last year thought that Randy, that we all made about a C+ there with Randy. And I say that because if we could get this thing right with him, get him right with the rules, get him right with the league, all of that, then he's got a bright future. And he's as hard as he's working, as conscientious as he is, I think he's got a chance to come in and make a big contribution for us.
Officially apply for reinstatement, and when, if not, when would you expect that to happen?
I don't know that as to when it will be, but I think that he will apply for reinstatement. And but as in medicine, everybody's case is very unique. I think that that's being recognized in Randy's case, and that's a step forward, not just by Randy, but by the people that are caring or evaluating him. And we've seen enough out of him as a person and as a ball player to want him on the Dallas Cowboys for us into the future.
There are so many people on this team, from coaches to players, that have just wrapped their arms around Randy Gregory and have supported him through all this. Specifically, what is it about him that's led to you giving such public support of him, both privately and publicly?
Yeah, Randy is particularly impressive with his intellect and his people skills. And that combination, apart from him being a great athlete, but that combination of people skills and just his ability to use them is very good. I think that can help him be a better anything that he wants to be. Anything, including a pressure player on defense in the NFL. And so that comes across. When you're around him, it comes across from every discipline that touches him. They come away and say, now that guy's got some special aspects to it. So that to me, that's worth spending some time and investing some of your what you're about as a franchise, the Cowboys, me individually. That's worth investing in.
As a former quarterback and the head coach, can you give me your opinion of where Dak Prescott's come from, his leadership skills from when he was here, fighting with Jamil Showers as a backup, to now being the guy that's leading a team to two NFC championships?
Yeah, I just think Dak is off to a remarkable start in his career. I think his 3-year win total coming out of college ranks up there with among the best in NFL history. And, you talk about leadership, that's probably line one with Dak, just the kind of guy he is, the kind of leader he is. And if you reflect back to his rookie year in 2016, Tony Romo's our quarterback, an outstanding player for us. Dak was brought in here to compete as a backup player and possibly be someone who could be the future of our franchise. And the way he stepped in that year under those circumstances and led our football team, to me, was remarkable. I don't think that's happened very much in the history of the NFL, the kind of performance he had and the impact he had on the team. And I would attribute a lot of that to his ability. He's a damn good football player, but I think a lot of it has to do with the leadership that he has and how he can connect with people and how he can get people around him to play for him, and they want to play for him. And I think he's gotten better and better each year that he's played for us. It hasn't always gone smoothly for him. He's had some real successes. He had some adversities, but I think it goes back to what he's all about. He responds the right way to every situation. He's played big in every big moment. He's played big in big games. He's always played his best at the critical moments, and that's just what he's all about. And I think if you reflect back on his career at Mississippi State and before that, that's what he's been about all his life. We're lucky to have him.
Jerry, any comment on how the NFL handled the Tyreek Hill situation in light of Zeke's situation in the past?
I'll start. I don't have one.
No comment.
Thank you very much.